Hey everybody, real quick, I wanted to tell you about this epic sci-fi video that we just released. It's in the vein of that CSI parody we made last year, if you're familiar with that, but of course it's set in space because of Edge of Eternities. It's got a ton of magic references, and we really went big with this one. It's the biggest project that we've ever attempted. It's hilarious, it's chock full of magic references. We know you're gonna love it. It's not sponsored by Wizards or anything, and if you watch it, you'll understand why. It's just something we thought would be cool to make and that the community would enjoy. So we hope you check it out. All right, on to the episode.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
And I'm Jordan Pridgen.
Yeah, we got a special guest, Jordan, today. We are talking about one of my very favorite decks, and this deck that I built is one that's actually very similar to one that Jordan has, and he has a lot of experience in that realm, so wanted to have somebody who knows the feelings that I'm talking about today. This deck is one I've goldfished more than any other deck, probably. I've certainly goldfished it probably 15 times more than I've played this deck.
Because it's particularly fun to goldfish.
It's very fun to goldfish. It's stompy, it's stormy, it is mono green. It's my Aeve Progenitor Ooze list.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
We're talking about mono green storm today. Today we're going to go through what that deck is, how it works, why it's awesome, and also why I eventually ended up taking it apart. Sad. But we're going to go through all of the details. But before we get into that, you have to just know who Aeve is.
That's a great point.
You should probably start with the commander like we do in all of the precons. Aeve Progenitor Ooze came out in Modern Horizons 2. This is a 2/2 for 2 green. So 5 mana altogether for a legendary creature ooze with
2/2 for 5. Yep, great rate.
Gotta be good. With Storm.
What?
So this was the first permanent spell to have Storm on it. We've seen a couple since then, and all of them were very cool. Aeve isn't legendary if it's a token, so that makes sense.
A line of dialogue or a line of text that would make no sense without the storm.
Yep, really would be quite bad without that line. And then it says, Aeve enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other ooze you control. So it's an ooze, it has storm, and it is like it's around the legendary rule on its own. So that's Aeve. When this card was printed, I was like, what do I do with this?
Oh, I mean, storm on a creature. I think nobody looked at that and it wasn't like, It was very exciting. There was like a green storm package. That's where the chatter storm came from. There was I think it was Gruul Storm was one of the archetypes. So I was looking at this and I was like, okay, how do I build around this for the first time? And it was like one of the legendary oozes that really sparked a lot of joy. With the mechanic that has historically been so broken that it is the mechanic that names the scale of broken mechanics.
Yeah, look, I'm a sucker. And the other thing that I noticed with it is it was at this time where I was building decks and I really wanted to build off color for different archetypes. Yeah. So mono green storm is a really interesting thing where you're okay, how do you storm without blue or red or without any of the typical storm enablers? Or even payoffs.
Because, you normally consider Storm almost a little spell slingery kind of thing. And green doesn't really do that most of the time.
It doesn't. So I was like, there's a lot to sort of work through here, how this deck works and what's interesting about it. And the more that I started tinkering with it, the more I was like, okay, Aeve is a Storm card, which typically makes it a payoff for casting a bunch of spells. But it's also, you sort of need to storm a million times for this to be a decent storm payoff in Commander. Yeah. Because, unless you're playing other oozes, which ooze storm is, a really tough thing to pull off. They're all, 5-mana creatures. I realized that I wasn't going to make enough tokens of Aeve to really be able to, win the game with this Commander.
Sure.
So instead of making it a payoff, I pivoted and started making a deck that was sort of built around Aeve as a storm enabler, and then it can be a payoff once I get way over the top. And that's when I figured out what the deck was going to be, because it was, I realized that the Storm tokens that Aeve made had Devotion.
Yes, and if you look at the Aeve card, you'll notice that...
A few pips.
It's got 3 pips.
3 pips.
3 pips per ooze. Pretty good.
So I was like, okay, mono green Devotion with Nykthos as like the main mana engine, and you can introduce like other sort of big mana green cards to turn Aeve into just a mana machine rather than a Storm payoff. Yep. And that was when I was like, okay, I know exactly what this deck is going to be. And it became a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It became a big mana monster.
As soon as you pointed out the Nykthos Aeve combo, I was like, this deck sounds awesome.
It's awesome. I mean, because you only need 2 or 3 copies of Aeve to have 9, 12 Devotion.
And then you just could do insane things.
Absolutely. Green's good at untapping lands and like making sure you have mana sinks. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
I'm going to explain all of the pieces of this deck and how it works. But if you're enjoying this episode and all of our other content, you can support the show by using our affiliate links by going to cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom is a great place to buy singles, to buy sealed product, however you like to shop for Magic cards. Maybe you see this deck list and you're like, you know what, it is awesome and I am going to build this. There's links in the show notes to both my old build of Aeve and the brew of Aeve that I have tweaked to add some like more cards that have come out since then.
The fresh ooze build.
The fresh ooze build. And you can pick up a ton of those cards at Card Kingdom, and you get them all in one package, shipped safely and professionally to you. We're shipping cardboard across the country. We need to know that those cards are the ones that we ordered are going to show up safe on our doorstep. I can't count the number of times that I have received cards in the mail taped to a cereal box and they just don't make it in the mail. So shopping from a place with the professionalism and the inventory to get you what you need fast and safely is huge. So cardkingdom.com/command supports the show and gets you some sweet cards. And once those cards are in your hand, you can keep them safe. You can keep them organized by going to ultrapro.com/command. That's our other affiliate link. If you're picking up accessories like sleeves or deck boxes, binders, playmats, whatever you need for your TCG lifestyle, you can get it all at Ultra Pro. They've got the officially licensed Magic art, so if there's a set that particularly speaks to you, you can go to their site, pick up a bunch of merch, or you can use one of their more like general lines. Like I really like the Mana 8 line.
Mana 8 look really cool.
They're so sharp, and if you can store your entire collection in it, it looks like really clean, and you can have a cool corner of your little game room with all of the long boxes that are like one of each color, and there's binders that are one of each color.
There's also a little while before another Magic Con, but the Mana 8 playmats make the most amazing like signing playmats.
They're the best because they're bright white, so like they look great when they've been doodled on or signed, and you can make a real memento out of them.
Perfect.
Memento, like the movie. Don't tattoo them. Sharpies is all you need.
Do not trust this playmat.
I want to write that on playmats.
Yeah.
It's very smart. Ultrapro.com/command. You can support the show. And you can support us directly by going to patreon.com/command-zone. That's how you become a patron. That's how you give money to us to make more cool things for you.
We like making them.
Magic entertainment is a niche space, and we're trying to make the coolest stuff that we possibly can there. So any support that you can give us goes directly to you in getting cool, entertaining stuff in your space. Plus, you get to join our community, and you get to chat with me, Josh, Jimmy, Jordan. All of our team are on the Discord, and you get to be a part of the Command Zone family. It's a ton of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Plus, we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode, and this one is dedicated to Jade Eyes. Jade, you rock.
That's me doing Jade Eyes.
Yeah.
Editors at make my eyes big and jade.
Big and jade.
You don't have to do that.
They're gonna do it.
Oh.
If you call out the editors, they have to do it. That's the rules. All right,
this is a power that should not be in my hands.
Seriously, you're like, I can think of a lot of things that would be cool. I'm not going to list them.
You're welcome, editors.
They'll have to do them. All right, let's talk about Aeve. Speaking of Jade, we're talking about mono green. And I want to explain how this deck works because it's, it's a sort of it's not a unique build, but at the time I thought it was unique.
Yeah, well, it's a very unique commander.
It is.
Finding the build that works is, initially unique.
I would say the other thing about this deck is this deck was sort of born and brewed before the bracket system was a real thing. I really did want this to exist in a 4 space. It's trying to go fast. It's trying to win powerfully. It has lots of combos. So if that's just keep that in mind when I'm talking about it. So this deck was built around Nykthos. For those who aren't familiar, it says 2 tap, choose a color, add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. Eve says you're devoted to green, baby.
Love it.
So it's this one land that can just make a ton of mana all at one time. And green does that pretty well.
If there's one thing green does well, it's make a lot of mana.
Make a lot of mana. That's the thing. And this deck was designed to be I want to make 50 mana.
Yep.
I want to make 80 mana.
Yep.
And I want to figure out how to use that. Not infinite mana, sometimes infinite mana. Mostly not infinite mana.
See, I love this because that's literally my favorite thing to do in Magic is to make so much mana that it might as well be infinite, but it's not.
Yep. And you have to do the math one by one as you're activating abilities and adding things up. It's very, very fun to play because it just goes so far over the top. But to go over the top, you do kind of need a lot of little mana creatures to get things going. So a bulk of the deck are green 1-drops that add mana. This is a lot of elves. Birds of Paradise, the Jiraga Tree Speaker is probably the coolest one.
I love Jiraga Tree Speaker. I think this is sort of an underplayed card.
It's a green Soul Ring.
Green Soul Ring.
It's a single green for a 1/1 with level up. Level up 1 and a green. But you only need to pay 1 and a green one time to make it tap to add green to your mana pool. So you play it on turn 1. On turn 2, you pay 2, but you get 2 back. And then after that, you have a mana creature that taps for 2 green mana.
Yeah, so it doesn't ramp you on turn 2, but it ramps you every turn after that for no more investment after that, which is really great.
And you can keep leveling it up, and it makes all of your elves have tap to add green, which is very powerful.
Yeah.
But most of the time, this deck was just using it as a creature that adds green. But it also is the Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, just all of the 1 mana
the dorks
creatures to add mana. Yeah. And then, so the next step of this is, the deck is built around Nykthos. It's built around Devotion. We need to make sure that we can find that. And we need to make sure that once we have it, we need to be able to abuse it.
Yes.
So obviously, crop rotation and expedition map were in the old list.
Sure.
Both of them find non-basic lands. Lately, there's a lot more options in this slot. You can add Urza's Cave. You could add the new world map.
Ooh, yeah.
From Final Fantasy. So there's more redundancy if you want to build even further around Nykthos. And then once you have Nykthos, you want to be able to untap it. So you can use the Nykthos mana to add even more Nykthos mana. Obviously.
Pay for its own Nykthos.
What do you need when you have Nykthos tapping for 12 is a way to untap Nykthos.
Yeah, keep untapping it.
So I would run Voyaging Satyr is just a 2-mana creature that untaps a land.
This card I think is a real find.
It's perfect in this list.
Emerald Charm.
Yes.
Let's just read this one.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to know this one.
This is super weird, but I love this. This is 1 green for an instant that says choose 1, untap target permanent, destroy target non-aura enchantment, or target creature loses flying until end of turn.
Okay.
That's a little janky, but...
It's a little janky, but it's honestly really great in this deck because the deck is built around big things that tap for a ton of mana. So there's a couple other ways other than Nykthos to do it, and you're not sure if it's going to be a creature or if it was going to be an artifact or if it was going to be a land. So having a creature that just says, or a card that just says untap something.
Well, I mean, most of the time it's just a dark ritual with some other upside.
Right, that can also kill a Smothering Tithe.
Yeah.
Which is great, especially when you're a deck that's designed around drawing a ton of cards and being able to deploy a ton of things.
But here's the question.
Yeah.
Have you ever cast it to make something lose flying?
Not that I can remember.
But it could happen.
If it was relevant, you bet your butt I would have.
Oh, totally.
I absolutely would have.
Someone swings in for lethal and you're like, I'm going to block you with an ooze.
I mean, your green deck flyers are your worst nightmare.
Yep.
Emerald Charm is really fun to have in your deck. And when you're going over the top, it helps you just go even more over the top, which I loved. There's a couple of sort of infinite untap type of engines. One of them is not entirely deterministic. This is Malachite Talisman. So This card's a nightmare. It's a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a player casts a green spell, you may pay 3 generic mana. If you do, untap target permanent.
I love this. One, because, obviously it works when you are casting green spells off the whole thing. But you also incidentally every now and then get to be like, oh, someone else cast a green spell?
3, untap Nykthos. Now dump Nykthos into a mana sink.
Come out blasting.
So this says, anytime you cast a green spell, you untap Nykthos, make more mana, hopefully have another spell that you can cast to activate Nykthos.
And in mono green, that's all your spells. Pretty nice.
This made for this really wild turn where you're like, okay, I cast a 1-mana creature, I untap Nykthos, I float all the mana, I'm at 65 mana. Now I'm going to activate this card to draw another card, to cast it, to untap Nykthos. And it's not deterministic, because if you run out of spells, you run out of untaps and your mana just fizzles.
This is great, because it means that people can't be like, well, do you win? I can see. You go, I don't know if I win. You've got to watch.
You've got to hang out with me.
Hey. Can someone count for me?
There is a deterministic infinite untap for a land in the deck, because I was just like, you know what? Sometimes it's fine to just stop doing math.
Yes.
And it's Sylvanas' Invoker.
An 8-mana activated ability payoff is just fantastic.
Go ahead.
This card is 2 and a green for a 3/2 creature dragon druid, and it has Conjure Elemental, which is 8, no tap necessary. It says untap target land you control. It becomes an 8/8 elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn. It's still a land. There's only one part that matters in that.
Yeah, untap. If you have Nykthos that's adding 12 mana, you can pay 8 to untap it, put 2 into it, and net mana. And now you have infinite green mana as long as you're untapping a land that taps for more than 8.
But that does mean someone could then Doomblade
your yeah.
Well,
yeah, but you can untap it on this. It's fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. When you have infinite mana, who cares?
I think it's good. So this was just sort of another way to make it easier to speed up those crazy stormy turns.
Love it.
I mentioned there's a lot of things in this deck that tap to add a bunch of mana. I needed redundancy because there wasn't a ton of ways that I liked to find non-basic lands at the time. So Karametra's Acolyte has the same ability functionally as Nykthos. It taps to add green to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green.
Nice.
This is a 4-mana mana creature. Circle of Dreams Druid is like a Guy's Cradle essentially, but on a creature.
Love Circle of Dreams Druid.
Also, green devotion.
Oh, it's nuts.
That's so good. Every time you tap Nykthos, it taps for a different amount of mana, so you had to recount all your bits. It's a nightmare.
Fantastic.
It's a nightmare. And so big things like that. I was even running Nyx Lotus for a time, which is an artifact that comes in tapped that has the Karametra's Acolyte ability.
Question, no Cradle in the deck?
I didn't have one.
Oh, okay.
So I was running Itlamok was in there that flips into Cradle, but I just didn't have a Cradle. So I was like, I can make a Cradle, just way slower and harder to use.
Who needs a Cradle? We got Cradle at home.
I had so many Cradles at home in this deck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have a Cradle, you should put it in this deck. It would
probably be good.
It would be really good. But the problem with having 80 mana is you do run out of cards really, really fast.
Yep.
So I needed really powerful draw engines to make sure that when I was casting things, I was drawing another thing to cast, or at least mana sinks that I could dump mana into. The best one in the deck is Glimpse of Nature, of course.
Which is a
iconic.
Legacy Elves classic. Yeah.
It's a green for a sorcery. Whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. So it just, anytime you cast a thing, you draw a card.
And I think this is a good indicator. If you see a card like this in a deck, you should know that you're in for a big storm turn.
Yeah.
Because I'd say a lot of people look at this in Commander and are like, well, I don't know if that's good enough. It just does it the one turn.
Right.
But the fact that it only costs 1 green to do it, and you can do it on your pop-off turn, and then you are just going.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
It's very, very powerful. It's like a ritual for card draw, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense. But
I get it.
That's kind of what you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Evolutionary Leap is a really powerful one. This is one of my favorites. It's 1 and a green for an enchantment. It's green, sacrifice a creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card, put that into your hand, and the rest on the bottom. So if you cast sort of like a dinky elf or you've already tapped something for mana and you need to keep storming, you can pay a green, sack it, have another spell to cast.
Very cool.
So it's perfect. It's where I can put mana. It draws you more cards, which will draw you more cards in exchange. The best card in the deck for sure in this moment when you have a ton of green mana is Augur of Autumn.
Oh, yeah. Because Augur of Autumn, if you don't know this card, this is 1 green and a green for a 2/3. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands from the top of your library. And as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library.
Yeah.
So it is like an Oracle of Moldiah that then suddenly kicks into also being a future site for creatures.
Exactly, yeah.
And you are just, if you have infinite mana, you're off to the races. You're just going to play your entire deck.
The deck runs roughly like 45, 50 creatures. Like it runs a huge amount of creatures to make effects like this really powerful.
Yeah.
It also works really well with your Glimpse of Nature and that kind of thing.
Completely insane.
So it just means that you never run out of gas. Like you will hit some amount of lands, but usually you can dig your way through it or scry, that kind of thing. So Augur of Autumn is like one of the most powerful draw engines in the deck, to the point that I even included Vivian Monster's Advocate, which lets you play creatures off the top of your library.
Sure, it's like that's just a powerful enough effect that you want the redundancy in making it happen.
To be clear, this is 5 mana Vivian. It also has a creature tutor on it, which I liked a lot.
Yeah.
So when you play it, it's a -2. It's when you next cast a creature spell, you tutor for something less than that. So you can go find an Augur of Autumn. You can go find like a Quirion Ranger, which is a combo piece, when you're just casting anything. But you needed so many cards that are just like, keep the machine fed. Because you have 60 mana, you need like stuff.
Yeah, you have to have an engine going.
Right. So there's a lot of like big engine pieces, and there's a lot of focus on creature density to make sure that these draw engines that I just mentioned, which are all very creature based.
Yeah, that they are drawing you cards.
Yes. It's really interesting because I wanted the deck to be like different and feel unique, like feel like a very creature storm deck, and like lean into what green is good at, but also have this power of storm, which it definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, because most of the time when you think about storm, you're not imagining playing 10 creatures before playing the storm. You're thinking of cantrip and play some Cheerios and sack the Cheerios and play the Cheerios again or something
Absolutely.
like that.
Like, it's more of an artifact or spells thing. So,
right.
So doing creatures, I was like, wow, this is really neat. And as it got more powerful, I sort of spent, like the first few games I played with it, it was pretty clunky, but it could make a ton of mana. It could cast a bunch of creatures and then it would kind of just like sputter out, and that was it. So as I sort of recognized that it was more powerful and what it was, I added more tutors to make it more consistent, because I knew it was going to be a powerful deck. So running tutors was sort of to like match the power level of what the deck was actually doing, instead of being like, I'm not going to play any tutors because it's a casual deck.
Well, I think this kind of speaks to what you were saying about this kind of being the 4 mentality before the 4 bracket really existed, where it's like, okay, because I am not here to play a simple fun game, let's make the powerful game it does actually do it pretty much as well as it can.
Actually better, yeah. So I started adding more and more tutors to sort of improve this consistency, make sure I had the right pieces at the right time. When you had 30 mana, what do you need a draw engine? When you have a draw engine, you need a way to untap your land or something like that.
And green is a pretty robust, like,
oh my gosh,
tutor environment.
One of the better ones is Woodland Bellower. This is an underplay card. It used to get played a lot, I think, in Commander, and then we sort of let it fall by the wayside. But it's 4 green for a 6/5 beast. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a non-legendary green creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less. Put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle.
That onto the battlefield is what makes all the difference there.
And creatures have gotten better and better and better, so 3 mana and non-legendary just isn't really that big of a restriction in terms of what you can find.
There was definitely a point where it's like, oh man, I'm spending 6 mana and getting a 3-drop? Like, that's not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, along with the 6/5, but there are 3-drops that just warp the game around them.
Yeah, Augur of Autumn was what I found most of the time. Yep. Because you're just like, okay, well, now I'm going. Worldly Tutor, of course, it was running X-Spells like Finale of Devastation were in the deck as well. Obviously, Finale, a very good place to put 60 mana as well.
Yeah. It's like that will do it.
That will do it. The other thing was like, okay, so if I'm not drawing enough cards, then I just need somewhere to put it. So I need mana sinks. And the most powerful mana sink in green is Temur Sabertooth.
Temur Sabertooth. If you have not seen this card in action, it can be hard to understand how it's quite so powerful, but Temur Sabertooth is just a house.
Yeah.
Temur Sabertooth is 2 green for a 4/3 creature cat, and it has 1 and a green. Note that it doesn't have to tap. And it says, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Temur Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that it just costs 2 mana to recast a creature, amazing. And
Hugely
it protects
important.
everything on your board.
Well, it would protect, you can save it from removal,
It protects itself.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable Magic card, which I'm sure if you've played any amount of Magic, you know that Temur Sabertooth is a combo piece. But in this deck, it was for like, I'm going to pick up 2-mana Elf that draws a card when it enters.
Yeah, and play it again, draw another card.
And I'm going to get all my cast creature triggers, and I'm going to it settles 4 mana to draw a card, but like, that's fine.
You could pick up Aeve and cast it again. And
Exactly. Pick up Eve and cast it again. There's a couple ways in the deck to do that.
Yep,
you
and
could
then the storm starts really building on itself.
You could pick up Woodland Bellower, tutor for another piece. There was like tons of things you could do with Temur Sabertooth. And then once you did have infinite mana, you could like, all right, I'm going to tutor for Acidic Slime and I'm going to blow up everybody's lands. You could do wild things like that where you're just like,
amazing.
And most of the time you didn't even need infinite mana to do that. You're like, I have 70 mana, so I can blow up like every non-creature on your board and probably you're a problem. So I'm just going to clean up all of this stuff and then pass.
Yeah.
So it had these like sort of crazy turns where you went off with Temur Sabertooth, or it would have these turns where it's like, I have 80 mana, I just need to put this mana somewhere. You'll put it into like a Duskwatch Recruiter. So this is one that says 2 and a green. You look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. So this was just a way to draw cards repeatedly.
Yeah.
And the deck is built around creatures, so it's very easy to sort of churn through your deck and keep finding more things to cast to fuel the creature beast.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these kind of fall into the category that green has a lot of and can be a little overlooked, which is like repeatable mana sinks that like gain you cards that might seem a little inefficient, but if you're not being fair with how you're making mana, it doesn't matter.
You don't have to be efficient if like you're making 80 mana. So that was the thing that was so interesting and fun about this deck is you could do these wildly inefficient things like the Sylvanas Invoker thing, which are like, it goes infinite once you have a land that makes 8 mana. That's ridiculous. But it worked. So it had these really fun moments with like Nylea Keen-Eyed where you're spending 3 mana to essentially like surveil for creatures.
Sure.
You reveal the top. If it's a creature, you draw it. Or if it's not, you can put it in the graveyard.
Yeah, but that can churn through your whole deck.
That can churn through your whole deck.
Easy. Get whatever card you want. I mean, it's basically just a tutor with extra steps.
Right. And this whole deck was tutor with extra steps. And so you'd get to these points where you're like, all right, I have now made 1 million mana and have gone through my deck so many times, and my opponents are still sitting there.
This is a great experience when you're one of the opponents.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Very fun.
But like all of these things you're saying, you're like, whoa, that's so fun. And so I was like, okay, how do I win the game? Because you can't just spin your wheels forever. People will leave,
which actually does mean you win the game.
Yeah, if they leave, you win. So I went the typical route for green. I was like, Craterhoof is how these kind of decks win.
Craterhoof, a fun tech piece you've probably never heard of.
You've probably never heard of it. It was just like, okay, dear God, win the game. It was like, it was Craterhoof. I also put Triumph of the Hordes in it. It wasn't as good, but like gets the job done.
It sure does.
But my favorite way to win was Squall Line.
I will admit, this is not a card I had heard of before you showed me this deck list.
Yeah.
So Squall Line is X green, and I have a dedicated X spell deck, so I'm shocked I haven't seen this card. But it's X green. For an instant, it says Squall Line deals X damage to each creature with flying and each player.
It's a burn spell in green. It also hits you.
A symmetric
it does
burn
hit
spell.
You. But the fact that this is an instant is so bananas.
Yeah.
Because you can go off on somebody else's turn and be like, I burn everybody for like 22.
I feel like the way to do it is be like, okay, I have the infinite mana sink on the board, pass turn, and like wait for people to have a little bit of hope that they're not dead, and then be like,
Squall Line!
You got squalled! Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, so that was my favorite way to win the game. Very difficult to tutor for, but
huge fan.
but
Love
very
it.
fun. And the deck also had a couple of combos just to kind of sew things up. So as the deck got more powerful, I was like, it is a storm deck. It is okay if I have infinite storm combos. So I was running Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, which makes all of your creatures into forests. And then I was combining it with cards like Quirion Ranger that say return a forest to their owner's hand, untap target creature, activate only once each turn.
Also classics.
Right. So when Quirion Ranger is a forest, you can return it to its hand and then tap a creature to replay the Quirion Ranger. So you get like infinite creature ETBs, or you can untap a creature tons and tons of times. So most of the time in this deck, it made infinite mana because I had like a Circle of Dreams Druid, or I had some kind of other creature that tapped for more than one. So it doesn't go infinite with just those two pieces. It goes like mostly
Pretty close to
It
infinite.
goes pretty close to infinite, and it gives you a way to repeatedly cast creatures so you can draw through your deck. So it's like Temur Sabertooth sort of effect. So that was how the deck won, and it dumped it into any number of sinks that we've talked about before. As we've talked about, that's a lot of steps, and it takes a very long time, but it does make for some really interesting and complicated gameplay.
Yeah.
Which I do want to get into, but before we get into that, we have to hear a few words from our sponsors.
It's everyone's favorite lobster chef, Ragost, deft gastronaut. I used to think the best way to eat smart was to eat parts, yes? Spacecraft, robots, laser swords, you name it, I'd cook it. But melting the metal took forever, and my hunger moves at light speed. So thank my lucky stars that Factor warped into my life. Factor helps me eat smarter and faster with delicious chef-crafted meals delivered right to my door, all ready to eat in just a few Earth minutes. Even after I turn all your scrap into scrumptious food, Factor still has more variety with over 65 weekly options to choose from, and healthy too. There's global flavors inspired by China and Thailand, Mediterranean diet meals packed with protein, and even premium seafood options like salmon or shrimp at no extra cost. My favorite is the savory Greek feta shrimp with peppers and broccoli. Hopefully none of those shrimp are my cousins, though.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/command50off and use code command50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code command50off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor.
And in August we have that set, and in September we have another.
Rachel, wake up. I think the product fatigue may have finally gotten to you.
Look, I can talk about cards all day. It's not that. It's the summer heat and my old mattress. I just haven't been sleeping well.
Oh, well, if you want to upgrade your sleep, what you got to do is get a new mattress from Brooklyn Bedding. I got the Aurora Lux cooling mattress, and it has been amazing. The cooling foam keeps me comfortable through the night, so I always wake up rested and refreshed. Brooklyn Bedding mattresses are great for spinal alignment and back health too, and there are plenty of different options for any body type or sleep style. They've even got an easy 2-minute quiz to help you find the perfect match for you.
Nice. I'll take that quiz right after recording.
Sounds good. Now, are you ready to talk about the thousands of new cards to keep track of?
The product fatigue! He's crashing! We need his cool and rejuvenating Brooklyn Bedding mattress! Stat!
Go to brooklynbedding.com and use our promo code COMMAND at checkout to get 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. That's brooklynbedding.com and promo code COMMAND for 30% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Again, brooklynbedding.com, promo code COMMAND.
What's up, pipsqueaks? It's me, the totally ripped raccoon from Thickest in the Thicket. When it comes to fitness, my goal is the thickness. But when it comes to wallets, carrying a thick, bulky mess around was weighing me down, in a bad way. That's why I switched to this Ridge wallet, and the gains to my life have been stacked. Don't be fooled by their slim, modern design. Ridge wallets are strong, made with premium materials like titanium and carbon fiber. They're perfect for protecting those extra cards I pick up by being the bulkiest bandit on the battlefield, whether it's my credit card, ID, or membership to Eternal Fitness. And Ridge wallets come in a bushel of different colors and styles, so your wallet can look as good as you do, or as good as I do. Check out these packs! Now that I've got the thinnest wallet in the thicket, I feel like my power is done. doubled. Let's get swole.
For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using code COMMAND at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code COMMAND and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Again, that's ridge.com, promo code COMMAND.
You browsing for some new tech?
Yeah, I'm building Tiamat and ARCHIDEKT. Ooh, how about Zergo and Ojutai?
Did you just drag and drop that card image directly into your deck?
Yep, with ARCHIDEKT, you can drag and drop card images from EDH, Rec, or Scryfall directly into the deck list. No typing required.
That is so cool.
Ooh, okay, check this out. I'm gonna drag and drop Dragon Storm into the deck, and then boom, I'm gonna drop a bunch of dragons on the battlefield.
A 9-drop, huh? Seems ambitious.
It was just for the pun. ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/command-zone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command-zone.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about Aeve. We're storming off in green. We talked a little bit about how this deck plays. You get an idea, but I want to go through everything before we get into some discussion about Aeve. Yeah.
So you told me that you've goldfished this deck like hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times.
Probably less than you've actually like played it in paper.
I mean, I probably played it maybe 10 times.
Yeah.
Like maybe.
I mean, in my experience, decks like this are super, super fun to goldfish.
They're so fun. They make you feel so smart, and it's sitting there just being like, okay, so I have 56 mana, now I have 53 mana, now I have 50, and I draw a card, and I can draw a card by paying 4 life, so I go down to 39, and you just like sit there and do math with yourself for a while.
So walk me through like how a typical Aeve game would play out.
Okay. So, you need mana creatures down early. Typically, like you wanted some kind of dork on turn 1.
Yeah.
And then you wanted one of the bigger dorks on turn 2 or 3. So it was like a little bit of a slower start that required you to put some important pieces out onto the battlefield.
So like the first couple turns kind of have to be ramping for it to work.
Yes, definitely. Because you need one big turn where you can make 2 or 3 Eves.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need more than 5 mana.
Yeah.
Because Aeve costs 5 mana. So usually turn like 3 or 4 is when you can start to be like, okay, I'm going to cast like the charm we talked about, and I'll use it to
start untapping things, turning
untap some stuff,
a decent amount of mana into sort of absurd
crop rotations, like functionally free, so you can make enough mana that you cast like maybe 2 or 3 spells and then Eve. So you eventually end that turn with 3 or 4 Eves.
Yeah, and your goal there is not to have enough Eves that it's like gonna seriously be a threat. It's to have enough Eves that your devotion is insane.
Right. The goal is to get to high devotion. And then once you have that sort of devotion groundwork, you can the next turn. So this is usually turn 4 or 5.
Yeah,
you can generate. This is the turn where you can usually make like 20 mana.
Awesome.
Like you just go find Nykthos,
Yep.
or you go find Karametra's Acolyte or one of these like big mana things, and go off.
Yeah.
So the big thing here is making sure you have a place to put it, something to do with it.
And if you've ever played like a deck like this, because as you kind of mentioned earlier, I have a deck that kind of does very similar things.
It does, yeah.
Which is my like Namada Grove Guardian deck. But it's a sort of thing where it starts out and it's like, okay, it's not super efficient with the mana at first, but when it gets to the point where it's got a bunch, like mana and card draw, like this becomes the epitome of snowball, like kind of exponentially sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, especially with cards like Sprout Swarm, where you're just like, I have a ton of mana and I have a place that I can put it. It's inefficient, but I have a place where I can put it.
But then eventually you're like, oh, I can turn creatures into mana and mana into more creatures and creatures into mana and mana into more creatures.
And then creatures into murder.
And in this case, it's like all these creatures have devotion, and that turns into more mana, which turns into more devotion.
So it was like really about just like, all right, I'm all set up, and then there's one big turn that was usually turn 6 or turn 7 that I could figure out how to win the game. And that was combining some series of tutors or using one of the infinite combos to generate a ton of mana and dump it into something.
But if you were not seriously interacted with, that's a pretty consistent plan.
It's pretty consistent, yeah. it was very interesting because I was goldfishing with this. I was experimenting with tons of different win cons. I even experimented for a while with biorhythm as a win con.
Ooh, nice.
Just to see what biorhythm did.
You're like, let's find out why this is bad.
Yeah, and it did speed the deck up like a whole turn because you just didn't have to tutor for anything. You're like, if I draw a biorhythm, the game's over.
Thick, done.
The more I like really played it and the more I engaged with it, the more I tweaked it to make it more powerful. I was like, oh, it's an elf ball deck.
It's an ooze ball deck.
It's an ooze ball deck.
Big old ball of ooze.
It's just sort of like a bad elves deck. It's like what I've made.
No such thing as a bad elves deck.
Yeah, it's true. That's true, though. So it was really funny that I was just like, oh, I make it a little better and a little better. And I'm like doing this creature storm thing. And I was like, oh, this is a very prominent and existing archetype.
It's so interesting how it's like with the goal of like doing something green doesn't do and doing it really efficiently, you eventually find yourself back at what green does best.
Really well. Like you just follow what green does.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, the spells aren't really like that good in green. So what if I did storm based around creatures? You genius. One of the most like elf storm is like as one pro tour is like that. It's like
all right, green can do that.
There like literally is an elf ball deck that would win with Grave Shot. So I that's what I did. I realized that my deck was like this mono green elf ball with an ooze in the command zone, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, Abby, you've said to me multiple times, and I think earlier in this, that this is like was one of your favorite decks. So what was so much fun about it?
I loved playing it. I mean, it had so many different lines to victory.
Yeah.
I think is like my favorite thing about any sort of deck is I don't want it to be like, and then I do the thing that wins the game.
Yeah.
Like, which is why combo decks haven't often appealed to me, because I don't want to be like, I find the two things and then they do the thing.
Well, and I like as you're describing it here, like I've built some combo decks that are kind of like this where there's lots of combos.
Yes.
And it's not just like, okay, I found this most efficient combo and everything is about finding that combo. It seems like you're sort of more discovering the piece and be like, this is the first piece I need. Now I need to find the second piece.
I'll find the other one. And like, now I found this. So how do those two things work together? You're like, I didn't, when I built this initially, I didn't think about Temur Sabertooth with like cards that do nothing. Like I had a green elf that sacked itself that I was like, this card's incredible because its devotion's really high. But all it was doing was just sort of slightly worse elf ball. But it was really, you took so many game actions, you made so many decisions, you had so many things that you were doing that when you're goldfishing, you could just completely disappear into the deck.
Yeah.
And completely disappear into the lines. And that's what made it really like constantly challenging and constantly really, really fun to play for me and it was rewarding because it was different. Like there wasn't a lot of Aeve decks running around. I hadn't played against any of them. So there was a lot about it that I just thought was really, really interesting and cool.
Mm-hmm. I think that's cool too because, I think a lot of Commander players have not played much combo, which I understand why it's a little frowned on and people can feel pretty upset about it. But like a good, interesting combo deck can be such a mental challenge the whole time to play. Like, even if it feels like you're playing Solitaire a little bit, Solitaire can be a fun game.
Solitaire is one of the most popular games of all time.
Yes.
Like, it's literally... Yeah, we do sort of joke about, you're like, oh, you just came here to play with yourself. And you're like, yeah, but it's not myself, it's my deck.
Yeah, and
my deck's deck really cool.
Wins in so many different ways.
And like... I didn't have a lot of decks that just went over the top in that way. Like, I think that's why green appeals to people so much, because it's like, white has to be super efficient and blue has to be like, all right, I'm going to make sure I use my mana. And if I hold up this mana, then I have an answer to do that.
Yeah.
And green's like, what if I had 1,000,000 mana?
What if when they counterspell my thing, I go, okay,
and I've cast another one.
Yeah, any number of haymakers I could just throw at you over and over again.
Like, this deck used Temur Sabertooth to recast an Apex Devastator. Like, that's the stupidest. Like, that's so dumb. But I'm like, I can cast Apex Devastator 3 times. That's probably good.
Cascade.
Cascade more.
Keep on cascading.
Because you know what that card needs is more cascades.
Yeah. You looked at that and you said, it's not quite there.
What if I could pick it up? So it just went, it was so different than a lot of the other decks that I played because it was so explosive and like much.
Yeah. And, there's the phrase that math is for blockers.
Yeah.
But math is also for big green combo
players. It is
players.
also for big green combo players. Yeah, most Storm players, you see them fiddling with like Grixis colors, or like I have 2 of blue and 2 of black and 3 of red.
Like,
and then
is that enough?
I
think it'll do it.
I have 75 green. What can I do with that? So it was really fun to play. But the problem was, as it always is with these kind of decks in Casual Commander, it just isn't that fun to play against.
Yeah.
And it does so much playing against. Like, there's so much to watch.
Mm-hmm. So, you've said
that
sadly, you had to take this deck apart.
I did.
What made you make that tough decision that is leading to this current sort of a celebration of life of the deck?
This is so Eve was not the kind of deck that my playgroup was prepared to play against.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. We've talked a lot about it as long terms as like super non-deterministic combos, so it's just a nightmare to play against. But it's also just like, it's a combo deck that tutors a lot. So it requires counter spells or like efficient instant speed disruption. And it needs those on turns like 4.
Yeah.
And a lot of my playgroup was just not really prepared to hold up mana on turns like 3 and 4.
Sure, they were still developing their boards, and
right.
they couldn't take the turn off to stop you from doing your thing.
And like, they didn't have any interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Like, my playgroup is definitely more of like, I'd rather have you do your thing than disrupt your thing, even if your thing will win the game.
Sure.
Because it's this like, we want to see you, we want you to play, and I want to play, and we're all going to play.
Yeah.
But it's this, Eve just demanded that you have to remove something. And sometimes that something was a land, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
So it definitely like was just more powerful than the decks in my playgroup.
Yeah. So
and, it just was.
But if you're playing it in a group with high-powered decks.
Yeah. That was the next thing I did before I took it apart. I was like, okay, well, I know people that play at higher power levels. Maybe I'll just save it for that.
And?
It lost terribly in those games. Because I made these concessions in the early game where I was like, I did want weird mono green cards. I wanted Malachi Talisman.
Sure.
I wanted to play Sylvanas' Invoker, which are not the best ways to go infinite. So it lived in this really bizarre space between like, it was too fast and like, efficient's not the right word. It was too fast and consistent for my regular play group, and then it was too dumb and greedy for high power play groups, where they were like, okay, I could just kill your mana dork, right? And you're like, yeah.
You're like, it needs to be disrupted, but it is pretty disruptible.
But if you do, I will lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just this sort of like supercharged glass cannon that didn't really live very well in like a realistic play group.
It plays really well.
Yeah, until
as a deck you goldfish.
Yes. Yeah. As long as you don't have an opponent, it's like so good. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. I mean, I did that. I tried to power it up. I tried to play it in higher power play groups and take out some of the sillier stuff. Like the deck originally had Recycle in it, which is awesome. Nice. But also you can't really play Recycle at high power tables.
No.
I left it on the shelf for a while. I took it out every so often. I actually played it on an episode of Tabletop Jocks. I played it against Post Malone on an episode of Tabletop Jocks. You can watch it fall. Just totally faceplant against really high-powered decks.
That's great. So this entire discussion can be demonstrated in that one
you
episode.
can check it out. I think I cast like maybe 3 spells, and they were like, you die? And I'm like,
you're like, I guess I do die.
Yes, I'm a green deck. So... I don't know. You can hear me talk about this like it was in my personal decks episode where I started to recognize that this just was a weird deck without a home, where it was too good and yet too bad.
This can be sort of the problem with trying to build a high-powered mono green deck.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure there's CDH players who will hear me and go, "You idiot! You just got to do this."
Well, I mean,
something like that.
They don't play green in CDH
I don't think
for
they
the most
do.
part. Not really.
But the problem is that when you get to high-powered games, decks are going to be bringing a lot of robust interaction to what you're doing, or they're going to really need to be interacted with quickly. And green kind of can't interact on the level of a lot of those things.
It really can't. I mean, the deck just didn't really have any disruption. It was
Yeah.
like, I can blow up all of your lands, but otherwise you're just casting Acidic Slime for 5. Like, we were talking about how all of these inefficiencies are, like, kind of charming about it, where you're like, I can pay 4 mana forever and draw, like, 6 cards. But you can't really when you need some level of disruption to either protect a combo or disrupt somebody else's.
Yep.
So it just lived in this really strange place where I was like, okay, in order to make it powerful enough to play in the powerful playgroups, it should just be an elf deck. And I didn't really want an elf deck. I wanted Aeve.
Yeah.
And in order to play it in the casual groups that I play with most often, I would have had to make it an Ooze deck. I would have had to make it less of a Storm deck. And that didn't really interest me either.
So, did you ever try to power it down?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't going to be the kind of deck I was interested in if I pulled out a lot of the Storm elements. Because that was what drew me to the card in the first place was the Storm part.
We were talking about this kind of before the thing. And I'm sort of the same way. Sometimes when you understand how strong a deck could be and you understand the strong line in it, it's hard to be interested in a weaker version of that deck.
Yeah, I really like when you find a thing that feels neat and interesting.
Yeah.
And you figure out how to do that thing. Like for Norrin, for example, I built Norrin as a stickers deck, which is a very clear box.
Sure.
And it does a really neat thing. So, and I can drill all the way down toward what does the best Norrin sticker deck look like.
Right.
But that stays contained. And this was if I kept drilling into what I liked about Aeve, I would just get to a place that I was either not interested in anymore, where it's well-trod territory, elf ball, or I would go back to the surface, which is just ignores the thing that I really wanted to do well.
Yeah.
And I had the same problem with Orvar, honestly. Josh and I have talked about this on the show a few times. We both built Orvar decks and took them apart, ultimately.
And I think I've played against your Orvar once or twice. It's a very strong deck.
It was, yeah. I originally was going to build it for Kaldheim game nights. And then I was like, oh, I cannot play this on game nights. It is too crazy. I just didn't believe in myself to be able to build the deck and pilot it, in the time.
You have to believe in yourself, Rachel.
I mean, look.
Find Orvar in your heart.
So I built Orvar and I wanted it to be casual and I built it and I was like, whoa, there's a lot of infinites. It's really cool. And then it did the same thing. It was too good for my playgroup. So I was like, okay, I'll build CEDH Orvar.
Right.
And then I didn't really want to play CEDH because I just didn't know that world and it would have required a deeper dive from me. And I was like, okay, well, there's no place for these decks.
Has no life.
It has no life. So it's there's some commanders, there's some strategies that just demand power.
Yeah.
And it makes them very difficult to sort of touch if you are not in a space where other people are trying to do powerful things.
Yeah. So, okay, you know your group and you played enough games with this one, but how did you know and categorize that this was for sure too powerful? Because sometimes there are just decks that you win with decently often, but they're not too powerful for the group. What made this too powerful?
I mean, there's a couple things that you can look for that are I don't know. It's consistently killing players before they're set up. I think is the first regular thing to keep an eye out for. If they haven't cast their commander or if they haven't it's established any sort of threat and they're being threatened with lethal, that is just obviously a tempo mismatch.
Yeah.
And I found myself in that position regularly because if you don't disrupt Aeve, it will kill you eventually. And if your playgroup isn't prepared to disrupt or prevent a win on the turn that you're starting to do these things.
Yeah, and it kind of becomes the case where when you bring this deck out and you're doing your thing, it is always the correct move for your opponents to be trying to disrupt you somehow.
Right. And then you get into this weird sort of feast or famine situation where you're like, my deck is really, really doing the thing and it's completely over the top and it's going to win.
Yep.
Or you do nothing. You're not, like, because you've gotten disrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so my playgroup doesn't like to put you in that position where it's like, I'd rather your deck do something and then I'm like, great, something, I win.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to be exploiting the
good
social will of my group to win all the time.
Right. That's not like, I don't want them to be permissive because they want me to have a good time.
Yeah. And then you always wreck them with that permission.
Like, that's not that. So like, I find myself, especially with that playgroup, that I have to make sure that I'm trying to stay inside of a box or getting explicit permission to go outside the box.
Yeah.
And it makes it more interesting. It makes you build with more restrictions, but it does mean that there's just some kinds of decks some kind of strategies that are just too much.
Yeah.
And it felt like this one was just regularly too much. The turns were taking longer than everybody. I think, like, if you set win percentage aside,
sure,
because I think a lot of people are like, this deck isn't too powerful. It never wins.
Yeah.
If you set that aside and you think about, like, how many things you have on your board on turn 4 versus how many things they have on their board on turn 4, that is a much clearer indicator of, like, speed and consistency.
And there's a world where a deck doesn't necessarily win all the time, but every game you play warps around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way like that, still it's too powerful.
Yeah.
Even if it ends up losing when everyone teams up against it.
If the whole table has to gang up on you anytime you play that deck, it's probably more powerful than is appropriate for the table.
Yeah.
And your playgroup probably knows that. So they're like, we have to gang up on you anytime you play that deck or we're going to lose.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the easiest way, if you have a consistent playgroup, to figure out if a deck is too powerful is the way people react when you pull it out.
That's great. That's great. What do their faces do?
Yeah. If they're like, well, I'm going to play this new deck, and you go, oh, I'm playing Eve, and they go, oh, I'll save that new deck.
Yeah.
Let's play a tried and true.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely part of it. And I think, like, when you have a new deck, you're excited about your new toy, and you're like willing to put your playgroup through something while you have a new deck and you're excited about it. And then by, like, the 6th time you play it or whatever, you start to recognize how people actually feel about the deck.
Yeah.
And your blinders sort of come off. I remember I played a game with Eve on stream, I think, and I was doing one of the big turns, and I had, like, I think I had Malachite Talisman. I was untapping a bunch of stuff and casting a bunch of stuff off the top of my library, and one of my opponents was like, all right, I have a fog. Do you have a way to kill us if a fog happens?
Is that enough?
Because he was like, we're going to skip to the part where I can disrupt. I can't disrupt any of this.
You're taking a very long time to get to the point where I might wreck you.
I might be able to turn off this whole turn, and then we'll just kill you. And it was like immediately very clear what the deck was doing, where it was just like, okay, I have one piece of disruption. Can you kill me through that? And I was like, yeah, probably. And he's like, great. We concede.
Next game.
Like, and that feeling isn't great when you have, especially on stream, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the fear of sort of bringing that feeling back is what put Eve on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are like, why does everybody gang up on me, or why does everybody hate this deck or something like that? And a lot of it has to do with just not recognizing what it does to the people you're playing against.
And, you know, I feel like my mentality on a lot of decks like these, I might be bad about this myself sometimes, but I know it is the case, is that you get a few.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can play this deck a couple of times with the groups and you can have these big, ridiculous games. But at some point you need to admit that, like, I had my fun. It stopped being fun for the other people. It stopped being a neat party trick and is starting to become a bad habit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, have you noticed every time we have Jordan over, he backflips out the window?
You're like, that was really cool the first time. Now it's like,
hey, don't backflip out my window anymore.
You're like, hey, this is a problem.
It's really dangerous and, like, not that interesting.
But they were really impressed the first time.
Yeah. That's what it feels like, where you're like, all right, I think I can I can pick out a new party trick.
This is how I feel pulling out my Xolotoyak deck, which, by the way, I'm not taking apart. You can't make me.
Nope.
But, the first time that I'm like, I've got 15 untapped triggers on all my lands at the end of the turn. Ah! It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the fifth time, people are like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's man, it's really tough because like there's a thing that you really love and you know it bothers people and you're like, okay, I can get like maybe every other game night I can bring this thing out. And I can expect them to put up with some amount of suffering for my enjoyment.
To play with this beautiful glass cannon you've built.
It's the epitome of glass cannon.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you touch it, the whole thing just absolutely shatters.
Yeah. And look, if someone showed up and they'd built a glass cannon,
be like, you should fire that. That looks awesome. I want to see you shoot something with that.
Fire that cannon.
Yeah.
But eventually you're like, you're building another?
Stop. You need to build a sturdier cannon. You are building cannons wrong. Oh, man. So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about this because I do think that this is kind of a strange space in casual Commander.
Yeah.
And I think it's where a lot of people get this sort of like 3.5 zone in the brackets.
I'll admit, I build a lot of decks that end up falling into this weird low, like too low 4, too high 3.
I agree. And I have a number of decks that live in that space. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, I think it can be defined by disruption.
Yeah.
How capable are you at disrupting super efficient combos and how easy are you to disrupt?
Yeah.
And what kind of disruption is required? Is it creature removal? Is it a board wipe? Is it like counter spells?
Right.
And Eve is like, all the above, baby. Any of those.
What you got? Disrupt me with it.
That'll do it. Yeah. Board wipe, nightmare. That's going to be tough. So I do think that that is a space in casual Commander, and I've never found the table that is that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I 100% do.
So I don't know what that is because I feel like I have multiple decks that live there. I think Feldergriff lives there.
Yeah.
And Sidisi is very difficult to disrupt, but they're all creatures sort of like engine-y decks.
Yeah.
So what is that?
I feel like this happens a lot, and I like to build decks like this, where it's like, it's doing something very powerful, but you need this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece to make it happen.
Right.
And then someone goes, well, I can get rid of one of those pieces. And you go, yeah it needed all those pieces.
Yeah, it's like this weird glass cannon world where as long as none of the glass cannons touch each other, it's like whichever glass cannon gets affected last wins.
Yeah.
Is sort of what it is, which isn't really interesting play space, but does make for really fun deck building exercises.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's this no man's land that are decks that are really fun to make and are really tough to play.
Like the epitome of the Johnny mentality in Magic, where it's like, I like to find a way to win and find a path that's cool and unique. But it's not necessarily about only being the most efficient. And it's not necessarily, about the onboard play experience all the time. It's about the paths and the pieces you've made. It's about being able to set up a deck where you can solve a Rubik's Cube instead of just being like...
Right. And and watching people solve Rubik's Cubes is not particularly interesting. It's 4 players sitting next to each other solving Rubik's Cubes. So I wonder, because so much of it is about the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
If there's just some tier, maybe this is a bracket, maybe it's not, maybe it's just hey, you want to play our bad 4s?
Yeah, that's sort of the zone I feel like would be fun to play in more often, honestly, sure. The bad 4 zone. But you also sort of wonder if after a little while in the bad 4 zone, you'd be like...
Everybody hates the bad 4 zone? Because that's where you bring all your glass cannon decks that take turns that are too long?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's worth exploring.
All right, team bad
4.
Bad 4s.
I'm a bad 4.
I'm a bad 4. But I do want to talk about this moment when a deck is just not getting played. And you're like, I love it. I loved Aeve. It took me ages to take this deck apart. I didn't play it for like a year before I took it apart. And so what do you do with decks that you just don't actually play with?
I'll tell you what I do.
Yeah.
They live on my shelf forever.
And you love them.
And I love them from a distance.
Do you update them?
No. The best example for me is one of the first decks I ever built was a Nala Archmage Ritualist.
Sure.
And I went through and I had a similar sort of thing where it is definitely a combo deck, but it wasn't one combo because if you know a Nala, there's a few 7 or 8 combos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That are all efficient. And I just put them all in there. And my plan was to play until one of these combos manifested itself. And I love that deck and I'm unwilling to get rid of it.
Sure.
But I also realized that I think it's literally been 3 years since I've like played a game with a Nala.
Yeah.
Like I just moved and I packed all my decks and was like, okay, I've got everything. And then I realized a Nala was still on the shelf and I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Now I'm sad.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that you could do. You could actively like seek out bad 4s.
Yeah. Encourage a group to build stuff around the bad 4
What if it's
world.
DEDH, where it's like CEDH, which is like a worse.
We have the mentality of CEDH. It's like, we're here to win.
Yeah.
We're just going to be stupid about it.
But we're like, not very good.
Oh, yeah.
It's dumb EDH.
Yep.
I do think every level, like every bracket should have a letter.
Yeah.
We're FEDH. Like, I think that's great. So you could seek out people who play this specific kind of thing. So you could be like, look, I have a glass cannon that I really want to shoot. Does anybody want to shoot glass cannons with me? At a game store or at like a commander meetup. You could find these at like MagicCons or Command Fest if they're local in your area or you want to travel. Spell table is another option. The problem is like finding a group with this weird like specific zone is like you do need the language that's like specifically what you're looking for.
And maybe we've given you some of that language today in discussing this.
That's the hope.
But I feel like if you pitch your deck as we've just discussed it, people are going to go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I know. But you're like, I do want to do that.
I want to do that.
So if you're, okay, so everybody should have one pod a month where it's everybody plays their decks that you don't want to play against.
Or find me and Rachel at a MagicCon.
Yeah.
And be like, I've got my glass cannon deck.
I'll put
we'll be
Aeve back together.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this. You could also talk to your playgroup about building at a higher power level. This may not work. They may not be interested in what you're interested in, but hopefully you find people that can share with that.
But one thing I will say, if you've always played at like more battlecruiser, low, casual power levels, I completely respect that. And that's a ton of fun and can be really neat. But I bet that you'll find that there is more to enjoy about high power level than you might expect if everyone is on the same page about it.
For sure. Because these games are only interesting when there is a little bit of disruption.
Yeah.
When there are people trying to disrupt your glass cannon, because then it's not just like, okay, whoever gets online first. Like a race isn't really what the best form of Commander. It's like if you can get 4 decks that are in this same space, it is kind of fun.
The game can be fun when it becomes a little bit of building your own house of cards and a little bit of knocking the legs out from under other people's. And you have to find the balance between that. And it's just a different type of game.
Yeah. If you want to build Aeve, I have 2 deck lists. They'll both be in the description on ARCHIDEKT. There's OG Aeve. That's the one that I played. And I did make a more recent upgrade with some of the better land tutors that we found. And then there's some better creature tutors as well. Nature's Rhythm. Ugh. What an ad. What an ad.
I love that card. I almost brought it up when you were talking about it earlier. I was like, you can put Nature's Rhythm in there?
Oh, yeah. It didn't exist when the deck was together. But,
insane. So nuts.
To the listeners, do you have any beloved decks that you've taken apart? Why did you finally decide to do it? And tell us about your deck that exists in this weird...
Yeah, your glass cannon deck.
No man's glass cannon.
Your
GCEDH.
Yeah. Join the Bad Fours Club with us.
Yeah, bad fours. Bad fours.
Bad fours.
I want to hear about your bad fours. Do your opponents hate it as much as ours did? And if you want to pick up a real bad four, go over to cardkingdom.com/command. That's our affiliate link. That's where you can get cards and you can support the show. If you liked this episode, a little bit more meandering, a little bit more deck focused. We wanted to not necessarily give you a deck tech, but a deck story.
Yeah.
You can buy all those cards at Card Kingdom. They've got a huge selection of singles and sealed product if that is your jam. You can order them at cardkingdom.com/command and you're supporting the show.
And then if you want to frame that beautiful deck story that you're creating.
Yeah. Oh, I should put even a frame.
Yes, wait, do that.
Yeah, to be like honor decks taken apart.
I like it.
So you can grab the one-touch edge frames. Hang on.
Yes, from
Ultra Pro. Here they are. This is a little plastic frame that comes in. It's magnetic, and this has been sitting in here a while. You can put a card in it, and it stands up.
What's in this frame now?
This is a Monarch token of Josh.
Man, if we had thought about this beforehand, we could
have
had
gotten
Eve in the frame the whole time.
It would have been smart. And then it goes in a little stand, and it can sit on your shelf. So if you love Inala and you're never going to play her, you can put her in this frame. And then when you do eventually find a game for Inala, you can pop her out, put her in your command zone, and she's ready to go.
Bring her back.
ultrapro.com/command. Alrighty. We've talked a lot about Magic, and my brain is clearly fried. We're going to take a moment to talk about something outside the world of Magic. And you've got a game that you've been playing a lot of.
Oh, yes. You were talking about bad fours. Well, I'll talk to you about a real good two. I have been playing the hell out of Hades 2.
Hades 2.
Pun intended.
It's beautiful.
It's so good. And okay, to clarify, this game is not technically out yet. It is still in early access. I mean, maybe they'll suddenly drop it and it'll be out by the time this comes out, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's really close. If you've played Hades 1, it is like one of the best roguelikes of all time. You play to someone who is trying to fight their way out of the underworld in like a classic Greek myth setting, and it is like a hack and slash roguelike.
Yeah, the music's great, the characters are great.
Hades 2 is just everything you love about Hades 1, and it's just made better. And this is hard for me to say because Hades 1 is like one of my all-time favorite games, but Hades 2 has just eclipsed it. It's like got like more ways to play, more weapons. It takes everything I love about the first game and it's just like adds cool new lore. It's also the team that makes it, Supergiant Games. They just make like this world that feels so fleshed out and these characters that you really like come to love as you're playing it. And they make the fact that you are doing the same run. In this case, you're trying to fight your way down back into Hades to like fight Kronos, the Titan of Time, who has like taken over the underworld.
Yeah.
But they make the fact that you are doing this run over and over again like part of the story, and they make the way people react to you change, and it's just, you feel like you are getting so good at the game, and it's so satisfying. You never get tired of playing it because it's just so dynamic and fun and cool.
Right, because it rewards you for doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of Hades. AD's played a bunch of Hades 2. That's on a computer, so I don't watch, but I'll watch him play on the PS5.
Well, the thing is, I was telling myself, I'm like, I'm going to wait for Hades 2 to be 100% finished, and when it gets its full release, then I'll play so I don't ruin it for myself. And
nope.
I bought it early access just to have it, and my brother-in-law was like, oh, can you just start it to like show me how it's different? And I was like, fine, I'll start it and I'll do one run and then I'll never play it again. And I think I've dumped like 50 hours into it now.
Sounds right,
like,
yep.
Gosh.
It's one of those games that just grabs you and holds on to you for months. So if you've got some time to spare, Hades 2.
Absolutely.
Check it out.
Good.
It's very cool. All right, before we go, we got to say thank you to our team here at the Command Zone that make this episode and all of our episodes possible. Thank you to Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jake Boss, Becky Bell, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, Josh Lee Kwai, Jimmy Wong, and to Jordan Pridgen, who took today to talk to me about my glass cannon, Eve. So, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this one. We will see you next time.
Bye.